everybody, it's Graeme from Frontenac Cycle. Today we're going to be doing another Brews and Reviews. I'm here with
Andy from Frontenac Cycle, and we have two selections from the Napanee Beer Company. I'm holding Blacklist.
And I've got the Mayday. So we have the Sterzo Smart in front of us here. What does it allow you to do?
Basically, it's a wheel riser that allows you to steer in virtual riding.
So I'm in Zwift and I want to cut a corner a little tighter.
Absolutely. Anybody who's ridden in Zwift knows that the computer makes decisions for you where you turn. If you want to take control of those decisions, then you can use one of these.
So I do know that I have ridden with you virtually, and I did think that at first when we were riding and we got to some corners, I thought you were just going full gas in the corners because like you were gapping me in the corners. Obviously the computer was steering me around the corners, but I looked at your avatar and you were basically like on the grass in the corners, and all of a sudden we're around the corner and you're 5 meters ahead of me. I asked you, like, are you gassing it in the corners? And no, you were just steerzoing.
I was finding the best line according to my vision, obviously.
Yeah.
Putting a gap into you on the road is impossible, so I have to use whatever method I can. And in virtual reality, that means one of these. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So I noticed it's most advantageous in descents. Now, we are talking about Zwift specific here. I'm sure someone can tell us in the comments if this has been applied to other platforms like
Trainer Road,
Groovy or exactly any sort of virtual reality riding. I hope it can be, because if it's Zwift only, then they have a monopoly here, because it's fantastic. Yeah, exactly. So when we were riding, I made it an effort to take apexies of turns and to not let you draft me, because I can move over to the middle of the road where you can't, and then you can no longer draft me. So these are the kind of, underhanded things I have to do to stay in front of him. But nonetheless, it works and it allows you to explore more of the road.
Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about the climb, which I reviewed, was that it's another thing that engages you with the ride. Like
Absolutely.
It's a level of immersion that you don't get if you don't have it. And so anything that kind of puts you more in the moment in the ride is going to help you train. It's going to make you want to train more. So
now I would say that the kicker climb is a more physical immersion, because it's physically changing your position, and I know that you like that very much. Yeah. Being able to ride at an incline or even at a decline makes it that much more realistic. Yeah. Many people will comment, this is not how a bike steers. That's not the point.
Right.
The point is to have fun. It does steer in a sprint. I've steered standing up on a climb. I've steered in the drops, and you don't have to steer. You can just let the computer still move you around. Basically, it selects your position in the road.
Cool.
So where the climb is a physical experience, this is a virtual one, but it also is immersive, because now you're focusing on the road and it's accurate. These programs are very accurate and it's fun.
Cool. Cheers.
Cheers. Should have did that first.
So Andy, tell us a little bit about why we're choosing this brew today.
Well, I figured as I was transporting myself to Kingston, I would bring some beer from my hometown of Napanee, and they have a great brewery there, as mentioned, the Napanee Beer Company, and I'm holding a black German lager called Blacklist. And to be honest, it's quite easy to drink.
I'm rocking the Mayday, which is a Belgian pale ale. Never met a pale ale that I didn't like, so happy to be sipping on this. So you've been using it for how long?
4 months.
4 months, and what have you gleaned in that time?
Well, I can tell you that at the end of the day, it's made my riding more immersive. I am 100% all in on this unit. I would even go as far as to say that I'm probably going to buy a backup unit.
Okay. Why a backup one?
Well, after the 4 months, I have noticed that there's a little bit more play in the tray. This is the one I own now. I have been a little abusive in sprints and making adjustments and stuff like that. And that's one of the things. You have to have this adjusted properly. There are instructions on how to do so, very simple. But you just want to have it centered. And so not having the wheel, you know, entirely in the middle, things can happen. You get excited, you want to get riding, but make sure you set it up right.
And have you investigated if you can actually just tighten it yet? Or?
I did. I've removed this cover. So far, nothing on this side. I can imagine if we got in here and maybe found something to tighten this up, but I want you to know that this hasn't affected usage at all. Once my wheel is on here and it's pushing down, it works the exact same way. Here's one that's brand new. You see it's a little bit tighter.
Right.
I think we've lost, you know, the tolerance is...
Okay, yeah, it's not that much.
Not a big deal. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it still has worked flawlessly. And you see the light flashing. It came with batteries. 3 AAAs out of the box. Turn it to the side, light starts flashing. That means it's in pairing mode.
Cool. I guess one question I have is, if you're riding on the trainer and you're turning, are there any issues with like torquing the bike in a weird way, you know, while you're riding?
I don't think so. I haven't felt anything. Maybe the only thing that would happen, obviously there's a limit to how far you can turn your handlebars.
Right.
And so what I've noticed in really intense kind of sprint or climbing moments where I have climbed and turned at the same time to great effect, but maybe my knee might come in contact with the handlebar, which normally we don't do on the bike because we're leaning.
Right.
You know, especially at higher speeds, you're just leaning the bike. If anything, you're counter steering. You're actually turning the other way. Anyway, that's a physics lesson for another day. But Andre, fellow mechanic at the shop here, we all know Andre and how wonderful he is, but he had a funny experience of setting his up backwards. And unfortunately, when that happened, I mean, no mistake, it looks just as usable this way as it does this way.
Yeah.
Right? But he found that when he was turning, it was torsioning his whole bike. It was torquing his whole bike to the point where it was moving his trainer. And so Elite they have been very kind, and they've, right in the box here, they basically give you 2 pictures. Yes, it points forward. No, if it's pointing back. So we're always pointing forward. We're always going forward and getting in front of fast guys like this guy here.
Andre was too excited to use it.
I think so.
He just, out of the box with his eyes closed, put it down the way he thought it went.
Now, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to sow any bias here, but Andre and I are very enamored with this unit for the price. I mean,
and what is the price?
It's very, relatively speaking, considering how much indoor training has come along, it's $130. And the immersion factor versus the kick your climb, which is?
It's 900, yeah.
The immersion factor, I think, is well worth the money, and it's a small investment compared to what a trainer even goes for.
If you've been you're riding 200 kilometers a week virtually, and you feel like you've earned a little upgrade, this is not too bad.
I have a great scenario. Let's say you're at home with a wheel-on trainer. You're using Ant Plus sensors. You've bought an Ant Plus dongle for your computer. You're on Zwift, kind of the bare minimum that you need to ride on Zwift, and you're thinking, do I get a direct drive trainer? Do I really need a direct drive trainer? I don't want to spend $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 on a direct drive trainer. Get this, it's going to work across platforms. It's going to work with a Wahoo. It's going to work with a Tax. Anything that's going to be on Zwift, this will work. It actually creates its own little window where you attach this by pairing it to Zwift. And so if you want to spend $130, upgrade your bare bones setup and get real immersion out of it, I say go for this.
Treat yourself.
Yes. And so, have you been treated by the Mayday?
I gotta say, I'm really liking it. It's it's labeled as a strong beer, 5.7%. It's got what I would say, it's the type of beer I would drink after I've had maybe a lighter beer to start. I would kind of a lighter beer to start, and then I might move into something a little stronger. So we've been talking about this lovely product here. Can you give us the likes and dislikes if you have any?
Absolutely. I do have likes. Basically it's all likes. The one dislike I have is that, it looks, and it is made out of plastic. I was surprised that it kind of changed the way it feels, but it's not anything wrong.
It still steers you.
It centers itself, which it's supposed to do. It centers itself. When my wheel weight is on here, this doesn't move around. It's just a little feeling in the hands. It feels very similar to a brand new one, so I'm very happy with it. It keeps the price down being this way, I'm convinced, so I'm not going to complain about it.
Yeah.
My likes are that it has taken Zwift to the next level. Zwift is already an immersive platform. They're absolutely killing it. Their competition needs to catch up. And now they've added this feature which gives me control over my rider, and it's so much fun. You know it's a performance advantage.
I've seen it.
Because I was able to pull away from you, which is very rare.
Yep, I am much stronger than he is.
Absolutely much.
So basically, it's all gravy, but if you were to change one thing, it may be a bit more robust, but
and maybe make it robust and add $100 to the price.
Right.
I wouldn't do that.
You don't change the cost of entry.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. In your estimation, who's going to use this? Who's going to want this?
Good question. Well, I mentioned it earlier. Maybe somebody who's thinking about upgrading their rig and they're already on Zwift, but they don't want to put a lot of money in to change their experience. This would be a great way to do that. I think it's somebody who's competitive, even if it's just for yourself, even if you're just doing free rides and you're going out there and you want to pick up a couple extra kilometers per hour on that descent, maybe get a personal best on a section of some kind. It works in sprints, and there has been footage out there that showed that a Zwift controlled sprint is slower than a Sterzo controlled sprint. Okay. So some people that might be enough for them right there. All right, thank you for joining us on this little journey. I want to thank Graeme for having me review the Elite Sterzo Smart steering device, and thank you to the Napanee Beer Company. My hometown has a great brewery.
Excellent. If you guys have any questions about the Sterzo, just drop a comment down below, or of course call or come into the shop and we can help you get set up on one.
All right, if you enjoyed that video, make sure to hammer that like button and subscribe, because we've got more coming to you. Thank you very much.